different drivers' personal vehicles and see who's got the most protected vehicle on the lot. So you can see like this driver's vehicle, it's a Ford Ranger, it's pretty old, but the sun has just beat it up to death. And then you have some newer vehicles, and ideally the drivers would put a cover over their personal vehicles if they want to keep it nice, but very few, if any, actually do that. I mean, you got some expensive pickup trucks and SUVs and, you know, fancy sedans. You know, here's a Lincoln, and the sun will just beat it to death. You know, Texas, 100-degree days every single day, sunny skies, and these cars, the paint will be destroyed if they don't put some kind of cover over it. But as you can see, most people don't do that. You know, that takes extra effort, and a lot of people are not willing to do what it takes to protect their investment. Now here, this is my vehicle. It's a Chevy Silverado. It's a 2015. You know, has about 125,000 miles on it. Nothing too fancy, but I keep it well protected, and it serves me well. I only put like 5,000 miles on it per year, and then I put bungee straps over top of my cover because the Texas thunderstorms get pretty intense. But you can see most other drivers do not protect their investments. You know, they just park, and whatever happens to their car, you know, happens. See, mine, actually the front of this is double layered. There's two covers, so it's like 10 layers of material thick, and you're like, wow, that's like an overkill. Why would you do that? Well, because there's hail. Texas has severe thunderstorms and hail, and with 10 layers, which is basically two covers. I think each cover is like 4 or 5 layers, so you have about 8 to 10 layers of material. It'll soften the impact of the hail, so I don't get hail damage. You know, so you can see most drivers do not cover their vehicle. Some do, like this one over here does. But even this cover, I mean, it's a good start, but he didn't use any straps. So, you know, a big wind or big thunderstorm, it's probably going to blow off. But at least he tried. A lot of drivers don't try. I mean, you're going to spend anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 on a personal vehicle. That's for a used one, and you're not going to protect it. You're not going to protect it from the sun. You're not going to protect it from the hail. You know, here's a what was that, a BMW? You know, very, very nice car, very sharp, but it won't last if you don't put a cover on that. I'll give it 2 or 3 years, and the paint's going to be peeling on that. He's probably going to be looking to trade it in because it's going to start looking like hell. And it's a shame, because that's like a newer car. It's very sharp, but it's unprotected. You know, you could say the same thing with the pickup trucks too. You know, pickup trucks like this Chevy Silverado, it's a newer model. I guarantee you this truck is at least $50,000, maybe more. Not protected. Z71, that right there is probably more than $50,000 truck. No cover, not protected from the sun or hail. You know, it's something that drivers will learn. You know, when shit happens to their personal vehicle, they're gonna be like, well, I didn't expect it to rain so hard or have hail. You know, this is Texas. You know, this is a nice Toyota. Very nice. I bet that's at least 50 grand. Toyota Tundra, a newer one, not protected. You know, so you see most drivers don't protect their car, and this is a big investment. You know, you don't want to have to buy another personal vehicle every 3 years because your paint is destroyed or you got hail damage. You know, nice little Jeep right here. I guarantee you that little Jeep right there is probably 50 grand, 4-wheel drive. You know, so there's example after example of really nice vehicles. You know, they're nice, but they're not going to last. Now here's an example. What happens to your personal vehicle if you don't keep it covered? Now this is an older Ford Ranger type pickup truck, but the sun just beat it to hell. See the paint? See the paint's coming off of it? See the roof? You know, it would last forever in the South because they don't salt the road. The bodies will last. The motors typically don't last as long as the bodies do because the vehicles typically could overheat as they age if you don't maintain the cooling system and things like that. But you know, if you keep a cover on your personal vehicle, you can make it last a really, really long time. You know, but you gotta put in the extra effort, and a lot of people don't want to do it. Now here's someone had a cover and it blew off. It didn't use any straps. So it probably wasn't this car because it's already fading. The paint's already starting to fade on it. So it's probably somebody else and they just left their cover on the ground. They didn't bother to pick it up. But you can see most drivers don't put in the extra effort, and it's too bad. I mean, I recommend it, but you know, they got nice cars, they're not protecting it. See, like this Mustang, look at that headlight. That's sun damage. That's what that is. If you would have kept the cover on that Mustang, its body would have looked a lot better. So that's what I recommend to all my owner-operator friends. You know, I'm like, you know, gotta protect your personal vehicle. I paid cash for my pickup truck. I don't want to have to buy another one. You know, not for a long time. You know, I even paying cash. You know, this was several years ago, before inflation took into place. Truck had nearly 100,000 miles on it. It still cost over $20,000, and I paid cash for it. Now here's the nice cover. You know, it looks like probably a Jeep or something like that. And he's made the attempt to keep it covered. No straps though. You know, that's the thing that they gotta learn. It's like, okay, you got a cover, that's a good start, but you know, you gotta strap it down. Because the wind will just tear your cover right off. You know, the winds down here near Dallas, they can get up to 30 miles an hour or more if a storm blows through. So you gotta get it covered, and you gotta get straps on it. You know, but you can see most drivers aren't putting in the effort. I really don't understand why. You know, it's just, you know, they're asking for it. They're asking for trouble. I mean, there's a nice brand new Bronco. You know, nice vehicles. No cover. So again, here's my pickup. You can see it's probably the most protected vehicle on the entire lot. It's got a cover and it has straps. And I've never had hail damage or, you know, any kind of sun damage. Even with the wind blowing, you could have a dust storm come through, and the dust could scratch your paint and all that stuff. So my truck is as protected as it possibly can without being under roof. But a lot of people don't do that. That takes too much effort. They're not willing to put it in. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the internet.